I call the meeting to order. On behalf of the IPCC, I'd like to welcome Rebecca, DMS, Ms. Sandra Zhang, ACPSQ, Ms. Monica Aoyong, CSP, CNIIB, and other police representatives and also members to this joint meeting. Welcome to you all. I have received apologies from 3 members, Mr. Nan Deng Yip, Dr. Li Ka-yin, and Dr. Li Yanben. I'd like to say that this is the first meeting that I attend today's joint meeting in my capacity as chairman of the IPCC. I look forward to good cooperation with the police and to maintain a just, efficient, and confidence-inspiring police complaint system. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our former chairman, Mr. Anthony Nyo. Mr. Nyo has been here for so many years, and he has made tremendous contribution. And on behalf of the members of the IPCC, I'd like to register a vote of thanks to Mr. Nyo for all the contribution that he has made. Let's get started with the meeting. Item 1, confirmation of minutes of the meeting held on 16th of March 2021. Vincent, any proposed amendments? No, Madam Chair. So let's take the minutes as read. Item 2, I'm going to have a presentation on 3 items: mobile video team, e-ticketing, and also third, a mobile application, Beat app. And we're going to have the police representatives to take us through these items. Madam Chair, thank you. Every single day, when we enforce the law, we get in touch with the members of the public, when we deal with the traffic offense and also the stop and search operation. We do have contact with the members of the public in order to enhance efficiency and transparency. In the course of our enforcement work, we would roll out new measures and introduce a new technology in order to minimize conflicts and unnecessary complaints. Like Madam Chair said, we have invited colleagues to brief us on the e-ticketing, a mobile video team, and also this mobile application, Beat app. First of all, I'd like to invite Mr. Lau Tat Fai, SP, ENC, KW. Madam Chair, I am from the Traffic Division of West Kowloon. I'm really pleased to have this opportunity to brief members on this mobile video team. When you see this photo, this is near Sayong Choi Street and Duke Street. You see double parking there, and people are vying for the right of way with the vehicles. This was taken after the Black riot, and also at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. We, the police, have devoted a lot of resources to these 2 items, and the parking situation got from bad to worse. In the light of this, in Q3 and Q4 in the year 2020, we devoted a lot of resources to tackle this problem. And indeed, we have received a lot of complaints from the members of the public. Let me cite you some figures from 2018 to 20. In particular, in 2020, we have close to 500 million complaints. They originated from 999 and also from the report room. and the complaints were about illegal parking and traffic congestion on the roads. We feel that police have to introduce new measures to ameliorate the situation. As far as the police are concerned, the uniformed branch and the traffic branch would like to do something to change the irresponsible behavior of the motorists and also to alleviate traffic congestion and illegal parking. We have therefore introduced the traffic enforcement camera. This is not unfamiliar to members. We have put up signs to warn the members of the public of this, but this doesn't necessarily have to be put on the roadside. Why do we have to resort to this? There are a number of reasons. First, we can minimize the chances of conflict because we don't have to engage the drivers, and we can minimize the chances of disputes. I'll go into these in greater detail later. Second, there are complaints. When we issue the traffic offense tickets, the drivers, knowing full well that they are breaching the law, they would try to challenge us in a malicious way in order that they want us to let them go and also to disrupt the process. And we can film the entire street, and this will avoid a situation where we are accused of ticketing selectively. And with the footage, the motorists can have access to the footage at a later date, and this will be beyond dispute, and this will minimize the likelihood of any complaints. In Q4 2020, West Kowloon has mounted the Operation Rich Peak, covering Sam Shui Po, Tsim Sha Tsui, and Mong Kok. In this operation, I'd like to say a little bit more here. This action is targeted at the illegal traffic offences, and for we will conduct a detailed analysis, and there are certain road sections that we consider should be subject to this kind of operation. And we will consider areas where there are more buses, where they are closer to hospitals, and where there are laybys for picking up and setting down passengers, and where there are car parks in the vicinity, and we would have mount operation in these areas. This Operation Rich Peak was a success, and we have the Operation Clear Hit, which started in the year 2021 in the entire force. I'd like to take this opportunity to say that we are adopting this 3E principle. The first one is education. At the first stage, we would advise the lawbreakers that they are breaching the law. We allow them the chance to leave, and we would inform them of our enforcement action. And we also get in touch with the shop operators and also the transportation sector to tell them about the enforcement work. And we would advise them against having the loading and unloading work during the peak periods. And we would advise them politely first, and then we would take enforcement action. And either we issue the traffic tickets in a conventional way, or we would resort to these mobile video method. And we try to engineer behavioral change, and indeed this would add to the cost of the motorists, because they're likely to receive multiple tickets, and they do have to bear the legal responsibilities, and they know full well that they're not supposed to be parking there, and we are trying to change their behavior and the mindset that they're not supposed to challenge the law in that way. Now with this mobile video team, we would do it on a high point, and our officers are in uniform, and they would video the situation from a high point, and they would capture the vehicles that are in breach, and we will deal with them at the back end. After 2020, we figured that we should enhance the enforcement action, and we have introduced the law enforcement with police vehicles and also on foot. Our operators would be armed with this video camera, and there are also officers recording everything in writing, and this is in accordance with the normal procedure. Enforcement on foot. This is posing more of a deterrent effect. This is on both sides of this road. There was a very serious illegal parking there, and the vehicles were parked there on the double yellow line, and they were parked too deep in some cases. So with the introduction of this enforcement action, we can video on both sides, and where resources permit, there are officers in tow who will be explaining to anybody who is questioning this kind of operation, and we will be recording all the evidence. I'm going to show you a clip of about a minute. And this is about Lam Chung Street in Sam Shui Po. Prior to the operation, that was a pretty serious area, and you get to see that there is very serious illegal parking, and there is also illegal hawking. Now we have the police vehicles running past these vehicles to gauge the reaction. And the second demo was we turn on the blue flashing light and run past, drive past the vehicles and see what the response was, and then we see the effectiveness of the two kinds of operation.
So this video, you can see what's happening in front of the vehicle, and you can see the stop signs. And here, we have worked on this for 6 weeks in the Nam Cheong Street Station. Basically, whenever we see any vehicles parked here, so since this is so successful, so in Hong Kong-wide, all of our different police districts have engaged in different law enforcement actions. And you can see Cheung Kwan O, Yao Jin Mong, and Sha Tin, and even in Central, you can see it all over Hong Kong. So you can see the comparison in Yau Ma Tei and Tsim Sha Tsui district. On the left-hand side is a night before we started the engagement. You can see that there are cars double parked, including taxi, entering the hotels. After we have engaged in such law enforcement actions, you can see that the road cleared up. So this is also another of our success stories. The location is near the Mong Kok police station in Sai Yung Choi Street. So this is where a lot of our citizens have complained about traffic congestion many times before. You can see on the left-hand side, it's what's happening before our law enforcement. Buses walk very slowly here because we expect, by our math, that it takes a public bus 10 to 20 minutes to walk that to go through that 100 to 200 meters, because you can see that these two lines of taxis, they're lining up to line up at the taxi stand. We have been talking about that to the taxi industry. We hope that they could work with us, and after a period of law enforcement actions taken, you can see that this road is not congested at all now. So throughout the videotape, the MVT legal action, the public may have several concerns. For example, they may be concerned that the drivers' faces will be filmed. So in our law enforcement, we try not to film the driver's face because it's not necessary. And secondly, how will these videos be stored and handled after and used? We will follow our regulations and rules. We would consider this as part of our evidence, and we would store it in our evidence storage. As for evidence and investigation, we have a traffic investigation team in every district, and we will handle it after the fact. If there are any drivers or citizens who wants to review relevant footage after the fact, we could show it to them and they could see how they broke the law in order to alleviate any concerns. So this MVT is not a panacea. We require drivers to take responsibilities, and we need cooperation from relevant departments. After, if we have taken action and we found out that there is no improvement on that part of the road, we would engage the traffic department and the transport department and the highways department to try to improve those particular spots so that we can achieve a win-win situation. And we would use e-tickets alongside our traditional law enforcement methods. And now I'll hand over to my colleague to talk about e-tickets. Chairman, board members, and members of the Secretary, hello. I am Nip Hoi Kwan, so I'll be using 6 minutes to talk about the electronic ticketing plans that we have unleashed last year in March. So as we've mentioned before, traffic congestion is a social issue. Road safety is also a very important part of public safety. This is also a priority of our department. Proper traffic flows affect millions every day, and in order to solve these traffic issues, law enforcement is not enough alone. We need our citizens to collaborate with us and cooperate with us. The electronic ticket, in other words, what people call a beef jerky, ngayogon, is one of the most common law enforcement tools that we at the police department use. People may know already we have 2 types of ticketing. One is for illegal parking. It's the ticket will be $320 a piece. So for these tickets, we must we must hand this ticket to the driver in person or put it in front of their windshields. And the second type of ticket is to handle other traffic violations like speeding, using a phone when you're driving, or no seatbelts. So the fines would vary from 230 to 1,000 Hong Kong dollars depending on the crime. And we could hand those tickets in person to the driver if we see the crime being committed, or we could mail that ticket through the postal system after we have verified the identity of the vehicle owner. So you can see on the picture the traditional type of ticketings that we've been using this for decades by now. Be it for the front line where we issue these tickets, or at the back end when we handle the tickets, it takes a lot of work and a lot of manpower to do so. So we hope that we could use technology to use electronic ticketing to increase our efficiency in these operations, to reduce our reliance on manpower. Different technology would also increase transparency and accuracy on our law enforcement. We also hope to reduce unnecessary complaints and unnecessary conflict. Last year in March, we have already started an electronic ticketing plan with regards to illegal parking, and and we have expanded that scheme in this year in March to other traffic offences as well. So police officers who are part of the plan will be equipped with a police-issued mobile phone and a police-issued app and the printer that you see here, so that they could do their work easily. So when we have started the plan last year in 20th of April, we have already made use of QR code with the help of our transport department. So after years of hard work, I think all of the licenses of our vehicles in Hong Kong will have such a QR code. And over the past year, we have also added QR codes onto newly issued driver licenses. Police officers will use the app that I've just mentioned to scan the QR code you see here in order to read information pertaining to the vehicle and the driver's license. Because phasing out old licenses takes time, if some of our citizens do not yet have such a QR code, we could type in their HKID numbers manually and get their information that way. This system will also make use of GPS to help our police officers designate where they have made the violations. Other information such as date and time, our police officers will input that manually themselves. Our police officers could also take photos to collect evidence. If necessary, drivers could ask for that evidence. That would result in increased transparency. Finally, our mobile printer will print the ticket immediately. So in the past, after we have enforced the law this way, we have to offer detailed notes on our police notebook. But nowadays, our electronic system could replace the traditional notes and offer an electronic record of the law enforcement. So this system is voice input enabled. So throughout in the past, it takes 15 to 30 minutes to issue a ticket. Now it's greatly reduced to just 10 to 15 minutes per ticket. So next we have a short video clip. It's a news clip from when we first started the scheme last year. So you can see roughly how much time it's required to issue an electronic ticket. So next, let us look at some relevant statistics. You can see in this table that in year 2018, 2019, year 2020, and year 2021 quarter one, you can see the statistic pertaining to electronic tickets after the new measures were put in place. So because we are less reliant on manual labor, our overall accuracy has increased. And the photos also mean that in the past, certain drivers would try to dispute the tickets or try to engage in some technical procedural complaints in order to avoid that fine. But now we have photographic evidence, so we know the truth, and less drivers dispute these tickets now. So in the past, you can see that 0.3 to 0.4% of tickets were being disputed, but after we have the electronic ticket system, you can see that ratio dropping significantly. So citizens no longer dispute the tickets, so we anticipate that complaints pertaining to traffic law enforcement will also be reduced. And the entire process is now quicker. The amount of time spent engaging with drivers is also reduced, so the overall risk of being filing complaints is also reduced. So you can see how technology empowers our law enforcement. So here ends my presentation. I will hand the floor over to my colleague, Ms. Yao Hoi-yan, to talk about the Beat app that the police department have started using last year, May, and see how the Beat app helps police do their work. Chairman, board members, members of the Secretariat, hello. I am Ms. Yao Hoi-yan, SPCC4SD, OPS parentheses T. So I'll use a few minutes to talk about the Beat app. So we, the police, when we designed this app, we have several goals in mind. We hope that we could use technology to use the Beat app to increase the efficiency during stop and search. So to increase the transparency in law enforcement, to strengthen confidence of the citizens in us, and to reduce unnecessary conflict in order to reduce unnecessary complaints. So the Beat app is mainly used in stop and searches. We could look up the database to investigate the vehicles, boats, and individuals being stopped and searched to see if they are missing people or they are criminals wanted, or these vehicles, whether they are stolen vehicles or stolen ships. We could also use this app to look into the database for information on all of that. So in the past, during stop and search, the police needs a walkie-talkie to talk to the 999 High Command Center and to input the relevant information verbally. And after we have got the information, we need to use a walkie-talkie to give that information to frontline staff. So some factors may affect the performance of the walkie-talkie traditional ways of doing things, like the signal strength or the amount of staff we have in the command center, or the amount of noise in out and about. That may have an impact. That would mean that the people being stopped and searched would have to wait for a long time. But after we have the Beat app, our police officers can use an extra way to engage in such investigations. But I want to emphasize there is no changes to the main procedures, because we are using the same database to make the same inquiries. What changed? What changed is that the frontline staff could use their Beat app, just type in the information themselves, and they could also obtain the relevant information through the Beat app. That way, our police officers will no longer have to spend a lot of time using walkie-talkie talking to the station, and they no longer need to say out the information of those individuals and vehicles out loud in a public area. That way, privacy concerns may be alleviated. In order to reduce the amount of time required for data input, frontline staff has made use of OCR technology to read identity cards and passport information.
Basically, this is a technology to convert images into words, and the BTAP will not be reading the data in the microchip in the ID card. It is using a technology to read the information. Other than the OCR, we also employ the QR code to read the Hong Kong Macau permits. Whether it is OCR or QR code or manual input, all the information will not be any different. The whole process will not be any different. The information that we need will not be any different from the past. In terms of effectiveness with BTAP, it is good for the members of the public, the frontline staff, and also the 999 control room. It's going to be a win-win situation. And quite inevitably, sometimes the police have to stop and search the suspicious characters, but with BTAP we can shorten the time considerably. We can shorten the time from 4 minutes to the current 1 minute, or even shorter. As far as the frontline officers are concerned, the whole stop and search operation is digitalized, and we can reduce the time of manual input, and the whole stop and search process can be more efficient and more accurate, and the whole operational efficiency will be ramped up. Now with the BTAP, people can make inquiries, and they don't have to make inquiries in the conventional way, and the control room can spend more time dealing with the 999 calls. However, the police are also alive to public concerns. Now I'm going to tell you what measures we've taken to enhance the security. First of all, with this BTAP for stop and search operation, we have to use the official handset. Now, all the handsets are edged with the police insignia. In order for the members of the public to distinguish the handset, we are going to have another label. Now, this is very eye-catching here, and this would enable the members of the public to make a distinction that this is an official handset for enforcement purposes. And on the BTAP, we have the UI and the date and the time displayed there, and this will enable us to distinguish who is doing what at what time and where. And this app, unlike other commercial apps, cannot be downloadable from the Play Store. It's only the official handset that can be installed with this BTAP. We're also aware that the public are very concerned about personal data security, and we have the privacy film on the BTAP or on the handset, and nobody can see the personal data when operation is underway. In terms of storage of information, there will be no personal data stored in the handset, and we also prohibit any replication or any screen grab from the handset, so nothing could be sent from this handset. In terms of security settings, the officers have to input the personal code or the password, and when they are off duty, they cannot get access to the system. So this is particularly safe in terms of security features. And also, how can we be in compliance with the PDPO? In developing the system, we have complied with all the requirements of the OGO, and we also commissioned an independent entity to conduct a privacy impact assessment. and the Privacy Commissioner also visited us to look at the app, and it is confirmed that we do have a lot of security features to protect personal data, and it is also confirmed that we are on the right side of the PDPO, so members of the public can rest assured that the police have taken all the reasonably practical measures to make sure that the PTAP is in compliance with the legislation and safeguard personal data. In order to enhance the transparency and assuage public concerns through various media organizations, we have mounted a lot of publicity on radio, television, in print, and online. A lot of information has been disseminated. I'm sure that Madam Chair and members and the Secretariat staff probably might have noticed our information being disseminated. This was rolled out in May this year. 1,200 officers are using this, and they are from the EU of the regional headquarters and also the traffic police team. And in August, we will be expanding this to cover 3,000 frontline officers, including some of the uniformed squad and the PTU. Basically, the e-ticketing, the MVT, and also the mobile app, or the BTAP, are intended to enhance our operational efficiency and to increase the transparency, and also to increase public trust and the level of service, and more importantly, to minimize the unnecessary disputes and conflicts and complaints. So much for the presentation from the three of us, and I hope that we managed to let you have more information about how we can employ technology to help with our enforcement work, and I welcome any questions from the floor. Indeed, this is 2021. Any questions? Mr. Yu? Vice Chair. Thanks very much, officers. Now, when you stop and search a suspicious citizen, I noticed that you would normally call up the command center to verify the personal data. Now, with this BTAP, it would be far more efficient, isn't it? And once you activate the system, you can verify the data. You don't have to do anything at all. It's very efficient. Now, other than verifying the identity, you would also be searching the belongings, the bags, and so on. And they can't save any time. It's just the verification of identity that will save time, isn't it? I know that when it comes to a stop and search, you would have to input information manually. Do you have to do the same? Yes, we do have the logbook to fill in. But we have the digital record, and it will be faster for us to log in the information because we can reference the data there. The police would like to have a digital logbook, but we need to do some consultation first. We need to consult the DOJ before we can put this into practice. At the moment, we do have to have the logbook. In future, I think you should dispense with the manual logbook. You have to have the system, and once you do the scan, the digital recorder would already be there. You don't have to write to log manually. In theory, you must have all the information there in the system. If you want to have access to the recorder, you should be able to do so. And that's my personal view. Second, the other issue is complaints. In the entire stop and search operation, there are certain components. You have to verify the identity, and you might search the personal belongings. And there can be confrontation verbally. Can we minimize the complaints? I think we have to wait and see. because when we look at the complaint cases, a lot of them arise from the stop and search when you're complaining about impoliteness and being rude and so on. I cannot see how this BTAP can really address this particular issue. Third, e-ticketing. I think that this is going to the Finance Committee for funding, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I hope that you can furnish all the necessary information for the funding to be approved, because the narrative last time was a little bit inadequate. I support all these new technology myself. Thank you. Mr. Chen, Madam Chair. Enforcement work to address the traffic congestion is a good thing. Mr. Yik said that this is going to the Finance Committee, $360 million. I will be sought. I'm supportive of this myself. Superintendent Lau mentioned law enforcement. You said that this is targeting at the moving traffic offences, not the illegal parking so much. Now in Cheongguan Police Station, 1,200 tickets have been issued and 2 vehicles have been towed away. Now you are towing away vehicles in the operation. Are you towing away vehicles that have drivers in or have no drivers in? Also for these MVT, would they exercise the discretion to warn the illegally parked vehicles to drive away, or would you give any prior warning at all and go straight to ticketing? Thank you. Thanks very much, Vice Chair. On the first question, first, indeed, the MVT is targeting at moving traffic offences. Now, illegal parking, we also deal with this. We also film them and prosecute them accordingly, in order to achieve the principle of fairness. If there are vehicles that are parked in a way that is causing obstruction, we will also arrange for the vehicles to be towed away as well. Second, about prior warning. We hope that with this MVT we can achieve some deterrent effect, so we're not going to issue any prior warning. Before the operation, we would mount sufficient education and publicity, and we would take away the warning sign. We will take enforcement action straight away. If I may follow up, as of now, are there any members of the public complaining about MVT and e-ticketing? Have you got the complaint statistics? In terms of complaints as of now, in relation to MVT, we have not received any complaints. In connection with e-ticketing, as we can see, we mentioned 525, it was rolled out in March 2020. Now for this MVT, mobile vehicle video team, also it was rolled out. It's rolled out in March this year. We cannot make any comparison for the time being. However, I can add that for 525 illegal parking, I can cite you some information here. Generally speaking, the complaints are, like the Vice Chair said, in relation to the manners of the police officers, and they like to lodge a complaint, or in some cases that there is not sufficiently clear explanation about the ticketing.
Most common of all is why aren't other drivers being charged? Those are all the most common complaints. So I offer some statistics for your reference. In year 2018, if we are purely talking about ticketing, there are 267 incidents of complaints pertaining to tickets, and in year 2019 it's 167 incidents, but in year 2019, because there was the anti-extradition bill events, so those numbers may not be reflective of the actual situation. So in year 2020, after we have the e-ticketing system, what is the figure? 131. So if you compare it with a year 2018 with year 2020, regular year with a year with electronic ticketing, you can see that the complaints reduced by 130 incidents. In other words, it's a 50.9% drop in the number of complaints year on year. So that's a statistic for the board members and chair. Thank you. So next we have Mr. Clement Chan's question. Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, thank you to all 3 police officers for explaining their new technology to us, and we are delighted to hear that the view of police on technology, how they progress with the times, that's very inspiring. But I also see that you have explained why you use technology. You say to reduce confrontation. I think reducing confrontation is a very good goal. We are not delaying the confrontation. Why do I say that? Because if you look at the big picture, if you use IT to do all of this work, I think to go with it, it's about how do you make it more effective. You have to communicate the message of the reliability and accuracy of the system to the public. You have to earn the trust of the public in that area. So you have mentioned, I think it's Superintendent Mr. Lau. Mr. Lau has been talking about the situation on the streets from a bird's eye view. There's like double parking issues. That's a very common thing in Hong Kong. But if you look at it from a bird's eye view of a vantage point, you may see the last few vehicles double parking, but you cannot see the vehicles in front. People may question and say that another thing is the fairness, right? You have mentioned this. There must be a level playing field. How do you ensure that the public could trust you, that every offender will be handled in the same way? You must convince the public that you will do that. I do not have a solution for these problems, but one recommendation may be that perhaps within the police team, when you are deciding whether to enforce the law, after you see this video, there may be a further vetting process. So, in other words, it shouldn't be the case that the MVT team goes back and they would just deal with it themselves. Perhaps internally there will be other departments who do the investigation to make sure that everything the team brings back, all of these breaches, everything that we should take action on, we will take action on all of those consistently. So if some of the incidents we cannot see it at the time, then there, well, I guess there's nothing could be done. At least the law enforcement should not be selective. We should not punish one but not another. So I think you guys should consider this, because after all, in every IT system, the reliability and public trust is very important. You must have the users' trust. That, I think, so therefore I think communication is necessary. And you have also mentioned the importance of data security already. But apart from data security, the internal audit, would you consider enhancing the internal monitoring and internal control systems to make sure that your system could earn the trust of members of the public? That's my recommendation. Thank you. So firstly, let me address the vantage point issue. Indeed, in a vantage point is necessary in our MVT law enforcement. But just like previous members have said, that some locations, certain vehicles may be blocked from view, so we cannot film them. So we have new measures. We have vehicles and on-foot law enforcement. those measures could very much alleviate and address the concerns of our board members, because all of these vehicles would be filmed properly on vehicle or by foot. Secondly, after we have recorded these violations, we would hand this over to a traffic investigation team in each district. So the operators will not be responsible for doing this. They will not be part of the teams. The team will do a detailed investigation on the violation, including verifying the driver, who it is at the time, to ask if the driver admits to his crime, or to even, when the driver wants to review the relevant footage, our team would help them do that as well. Because the entire system is quite complicated, in this rather short period of time, I can't go through the detailed procedure. But the frontline person who takes the photo video recording is the operator, and we have another team at the back end handling the investigation. And the internal audit is also up to regulation, because we have to hand all these evidence to a court of law. So we have done a lot of work evidence-wise. I hope that would alleviate your concerns. Thank you. Next. So next would be Anne. So I'm very happy to see that the police is using technology to reduce the amount of complaints they receive. So I can see that the printer, the printer that you use for e-ticketing is a very tiny machine. It's not a tiny machine. There's a lot of police officers already have a lot of gear on their belts. So in their day-to-day work, they don't just engage in ticketing, right? They also do other work as well. So that printer might obstruct them carrying out their duties. Are there any ways we could improve upon that? So as you've mentioned that your law enforcement both on foot and on vehicle are very efficient, in the future, would you consider collaborating with the transport department, say, for example, installing CCTVs in certain traffic black spots? So after you have captured footage of illegal parking, I'm talking about generally, you could immediately issue the ticket to the vehicle owner. Because if there is photographic evidence, we know what the truth is. That way, we could reduce the amount of complaints and reduce the amount of labor involved, and to offer a more deterrent. So I'm just trying to understand if that's a possible direction in the future. Thank you for the two questions. So let me address the first one first. The printer, to be honest, I think it's 700 grams in total, including the paper. Indeed, it is weight that is a concern, but because of the limitations of the law, we have to print the ticket straight away and hand it over to the driver or put it in the windshield, so we need that printer. But on this issue, last year in the department, we have established dedicated teams across different districts. So these colleagues are selected from different work groups. They are mainly focused on enforcing traffic laws. So currently, all of these mobile printers are handed over to this specific team. In the future, as we expand this plan, we will put the machines on police vehicles. We also bear in mind the amount of weight of the gear that our police officers take out with them, and because that is impactful. But in order to do away with that piece of equipment, we require legal changes, so we would work closely with our colleagues on that. With regard to the second question, we understood that because we would really like to use different types of technology to assist our law enforcement, increase the efficiency in law enforcement, and we are conducting regular reviews on different technologies. We will work with the transport department to continue to look into this, because we have to consider technical limitations and what the public is willing to swallow. So we would explore different options on that front in the future as well. Thank you, Mr. Chan. Because we have overrun by 20 minutes, I know that there would be more questions. Everybody has more questions. Try to do so in a timely manner. Thank you, Chairman. I'll be swift. So I have one piece of advice. I very much agree with what Clement Chan has said. So filming is all about angle. So if you film something from one angle alone, a lot of the times disputes may arise. So this is something that everybody has to pay attention to, because if you look at something from one perspective alone, that's definitely going to be problems. That's the first comment. Secondly, with regards to the e-ticketing, the scanning of QR codes in e-ticketing, So I've seen that you, in your Beat app, you use the OCR technology. How come in e-ticketing, you do not use OCR technology for identifying the license plates of a vehicle? Because the license of a vehicle has to be updated every year. So a year from now, all of the licenses will have a QR code, so you could use that. But for actually the license plates, that will be updated in 10 years, right? So I think 10 years later, all license plates would have QR code. So if you have to wait for 10 years to use new technology to scan the license plates, that's not reasonable. But just now, you are using OCR technology on your Beat app anyway, right? So you should use OCR technology for reading license plates as well, because that way you could increase efficiency and reduce the amount of time for work of frontline staff. Thank you for your recommendation for this OCR technology. We are developing such OCR technologies right now. This is very much on our agenda. We will add that function later. Currently, if we can read the identity card, we can read other information as well. Of course, OCR would be ideal. We would add that function later. Thank you for your recommendation. Next, so this is one of my personal experiences. I want to ask Mr. Low with regards to the MVT team. So the example I have in mind is that it's located in Percival Street in Causeway Bay. It's right opposite to PCCW's offices. So where pedestrians cross the road, there is like a road crossing. A lot of vehicles are obstructing the road there. It's quite dangerous, and every time I cross the road, different users of the road may ask, oh, why doesn't the police enforce the law? So this may be a potential source of complaints for the police, accusing the police of inaction. So I also have such experience because vehicles are stopping up, congested the road, so we cannot cross the road. But when the pedestrian finally crossed the road, the vehicles would just move, so pedestrians are at risk and danger. So because of this incident, I have really sought out help from the police. The police response was that we cannot have a person there 24 hours a day. That's not possible. I understand that as well. After seeing the presentation today, I think that we guys should use videos, right? Because this technology is capable of helping people in Causeway Bay if you videotape that black spot. So I want to ask you, you just set a machine there. Is that feasible? You're talking about it's always mobile, right? You don't really have a police officer handling it all the time. And secondly, if citizens wants to tell the police that there are such black spots, what avenues do they have? Because personally, I would like to file complaints about that. I've just talked to a police officer I met on the street, and they told me that I could go online, but I have no idea where to go online. Thank you. So using technology in law enforcement is something that we dream of. So what the board member has talked about is that in many countries, they have already used what you are talking about. In other words, to put cameras in certain spots. So when the vehicles are stopped in that spot for a certain amount of time, the cameras activate, and then we could prosecute that vehicle driver after the fact. But in Hong Kong, we are still looking into how to handle this with the relevant departments. So could we make the same prosecutions on those violations you've mentioned, illegal parking, but for the Percival Street and Lockhart Road segment that you mentioned about, that is indeed a very high-frequency scenario. And there are also privately owned premises there. We are talking about relevant parties to see if MVT could be used then and there. So if citizens have filmed their own videos, and they would also submit them to our police departments and traffic department as well, that does happen. but we require that a citizen to be willing to offer testimony and evidence in a court of law. That is the most important. And whether or not that evidence could adhere to the law is also another issue we have to care about.
Now, I'm suggesting that the police can pay particular attention to this spot. I'm making some suggestion that there are problems with this particular spot. I'm not suggesting anything else. Well, the regional traffic headquarters do have the investigation team. We would, depending on the amount of complaints, adjust our resources, and they would, after investigation, refer the cases back to us for our action. Our traffic investigation team has the information. We can release the information to members. If I may supplement, in terms of traffic complaints, we understand that we may not necessarily have the footage all the time, as long as you have the number plate, the license plate, and the time, and so on. We can certainly be taking action. Ms. Han-Yu? We should maximize the resources, and we should also minimize conflicts. Did you ever consider handing the traffic enforcement to the traffic warden instead of being undertaken by the police themselves? Well, obviously, we would consider that, but we need to seek more resources from the government for the traffic warden, and we may need a lot more traffic warden if we hand over the enforcement work to them. That they can only enforce against illegal parking. They cannot enforce the law in relation to other traffic offences. If we want to leave it to the traffic warden, we have to amend the law. What about illegal parking? If you're running short of manpower, I mean, you still have to increase the police manpower anyway. I think we have to use the police resources in areas where they are most needed. They don't need any particular strenuous training. If the traffic warden can enforce the law against illegal parking, I think it is worth considering. Thanks very much for the comments. We will liaise with the relevant department in this regard. Councillor Yik, if I may, Chairman, I understand that the Transport Department is considering the RFID for the vehicle tag, and with this tag, anybody can do it as long as someone, an officer is carrying an antenna. He can capture everything, which sounds really ideal. DMS? Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for the comments on the presentation made by our three officers. I'd like to take a bit of time to do a bit of summary and to say a few words here. When we upgrade the action or the enforcement, it is in line with what the Chief Executive said back in 2017 to make Hong Kong a smart city. And the police are taking advantage of the opportunity to avail ourselves of the latest technology to introduce the three measures that we were briefing members on. The whole idea is to increase the operational efficiency and also to ramp up the transparency. And when we employ technology to enforce the law, we are telling the members of the public in no uncertain terms. Members have made quite a lot of comments, and I can assure members that the police are reviewing different procedures, in particular the areas that are public-facing, and we're trying to see whether we can employ technology to increase the efficiency and to make it convenient for the members of the public and minimize any misunderstanding and complaints. Members made really eminently good suggestions. We have taken note of them. Helen has made the suggestion that for illegal parking, we should hand the job over to the traffic warden. In many other parts of the world, in terms of illegal parking, this is not the job of the police officers. They have farmed this out to some contractors, and we are looking into this as well. Now, there was a question that was particularly addressed. Now, that's Frankie's first question. Let me say this. On the question of stop and search, now you mentioned a number of procedures. The first step in the stop and search is to have reasonable suspicion that a suspect is about to commit certain offenses or is suspected to have committed certain offenses. We don't necessarily have to search the personal belongings. It all depends on what the suspicion is before we decide whether the belongings should be searched or whether there should be any body search. Now, we are using the Beat app, which has streamlined all the process to see whether someone is wanted or someone is reported lost. Now, this Beat app indeed has minimized the time, but the stop and search work will remain the same. And we have to comply with the law in the stop and search operation, and that is there has to be a reasonable suspicion. We hope that in the days to come, we will be able to introduce to members how we are employing technology to assist our enforcement. The police force is minded to use technology to enhance our operational capability. Bear with us, and as soon as we have the initiatives, I can assure you that I will be bringing members up to date about the latest initiatives. The idea is to enable members to understand the situation better and to inspire more confidence in the members of the public, and also to minimize any possibilities of mistrust. All right, and let's move on to the next item, reports. Police are going to talk to us about 4 areas. The first one is the CAPO's monthly statistics, and the second is the complaints arising from FOO-related public order events and all the statistics, and C is update on the 52 recommendations and the Appendix 2, and the fourth one is CAPO's criminal and disciplinary checklist. So, Madam Chair, members, the numbers from January and to May in 2021 for the first 5 months, we have received a total of 500 reportable complaints. One has to do with the POO, compared with the previous year, 478, up by 39, or 8.2%. For the first 5 months, 211 was handled by EDM, compared with 117 the previous year, up by 24 or 12.8%. Moving on now to the reportable complaints in the first 5 months. Minor complaints take up the majority, and that's within the red rim, neglect of duty, misconduct in politeness, and so on, 483 altogether, or 93.4%. The others are serious allegations, assault, threat, unnecessary use of authority, and fabrication of evidence, 34 or 6.6%. Let me deal with the minor ones first. The green portion is neglect of duty, 294 cases or 56.9%. The yellow part is impoliteness and misconduct, 180 cases or 34.8%. The blue portion is rudeness, 9 cases, 1.7%. Of the 483 minor cases compared with 2020, 369, up by 114 or 30.9%. In terms of serious allegations, the grey portion assault 23 or 4.4%. One has to do with the POO. The dark blue, threat, 3 cases or 0.6%. Light purple, unnecessary use of authority, 7 cases, 1.4%. And the last one is fabrication of evidence, 1 case, 0.2%. For the first 5 months, 34 serious allegations compared with 109 in the previous year, down by 75 or 68%. The last chart is about January to May in 2021 in comparison with the previous year. In 2020, neglect of duty 202 up to 294, or 92 cases of 45%, compared with 309 in the previous year, down by 15 or 4.9%. Misconduct or impoliteness 155 up to 180, 25, up by 25 or 16.1%. Compared with 2019, same 180. Offensive language down to 9 or by 3 or 20%. Serious allegations, assault 61 down to 20, assault 61 down to 23 by 38 or 2.3%. Compared with 2019, it is also down by 55%. Threat 8 down to 3, down by 62%. The inappropriate use of authority also down. Fabrication of evidence down to 1 from 5 or 86%. So much from me regarding the statistics. There are further reports. Simon's going to make a report. Let's hear from the police first. Madam Chair, members, about the POO cases, I'd like to make a report. From the 9th of June to the 31st of last month, we have received 1,948 complaints involving 9,139 people. 617 or 31.7% are reportable complaints involving 671 people, and 1331 NC, 68.3% involving 8,468 people.
So amongst the reportable offences, there are 59.3, which is more serious. Please move on to the next slide, please. Could someone show the next slide? Okay. So you can see the light blue part is inappropriate behavior. There's 190 incidents, 30.8%. The gray part of negligence is 17.8%. The green part, impolite, is 42 incidents, 6.8%. For rude behavior is 12 incidents, 1.9%. As for explicit language, 11 incidents, 1.8%. As for procedural matters, there is 1 incident, 0.2%. And amongst the serious charges, it accounts for 40.7%. You can see on the gray part, there are 112 incidents, accounting for 18.2%. There is a pink part, 126 incidents of abuse of power, accounts for 20.4%. As for the orange part, threats, there's 11 incidents of 1.8%. And fabrication of evidence, there are 2 incidents, 0.3%. So next, I'll talk about the how do we handle the statistics of how we handle those complaints. So amongst the 671 people who filed complaint, we have contacted 617 people, so 85%. So 185 people opted for a full-scale investigation, 27.6%. And 152 people decided to revoke their complaints. That's 22.7%. Is there a technical issue here? So 64 people, in other words 9.5%, we are still handling their cases. 74 people, amongst about 11%, we have decided we can no longer pursue this matter. And 55 people, 8.2%, have not yet decided how this complaint should be handled. And 10 people, 1.5%, has opted for an easy way out. And for 131 people, 19.5% have never responded to our queries. So the above concludes our reports. That's the item B. What about who will deliver item C? So thank you, Chairman. So the IPCC last year, in 10th of May, we have published our report. Regarding the rules and regulations, we have offered 52 recommendations for the police force on how to handle public order events. So it includes public relations and how do they release information, and the guidance, and also number 3 is arrangement for THA, and number 4 operations planning and strategy, and number 5 internal management coordination and training. So during the 3 joint meeting sessions, the police officers have already updated us on the progress. They have implemented 49 different new measures and followed up on made significant progress on 26 fronts. So we have submitted the 4th report to the chief executive. It also includes the 30 new measures we have. There are 5 areas where we have obtained a significant progress. So number 17, 22, 23, and 24, and 29, we have seen progress. Number 8, number 14, number 37, and number 37, we have seen significant progress. Alongside the other recommendations we have already satisfied, the police have already satisfied 32 of our 52 recommendations. In other words, over half of our recommendations. We have a total of 62 new measures. We have made progress. So the 13 new measures that we have published in the latest report covers 3 areas. Firstly, when it comes to better handling the information pertaining to public order events, we have integrated the advice and recommendations from police, from frontline police, and we have taken note of that. We have also delineated the role of frontline officers when it comes to collecting and analyzing such information. And we have also arranged for superintendent level officers who are good at analyzing such information to help us coordinate these events. And when it comes to assessing risk and resolving such risks and their relevant capabilities, our colleagues will pay close attention to social media developments, and frontline officers will also, based on the amount of people out and about, and set relevant risk control measures. And we also believe that we would act swiftly and decisively to stop criminal behavior and to stop situation deteriorating. And we would also adjust for relevant measures in accordance with the risks assessment, including water fences and other barriers. We will also create a safe space, a safe buffer between the police and the public members. And thirdly is to optimize our regulations and guidances. Here we would review our strategies and used in deploying our forces and how to apply our orange cordons and how to engage with the media. And if necessary, we will make use of appropriate force and appropriate weaponry. And we would also update our internal regulations and training so that we could adapt to the latest strategies we have in handling such public orderly events, including using low-power weaponry. We have also updated the relevant guidance and training pertaining to handling public order events in indoor areas and in the MTR areas. Finally, we have also updated our training and courses. We have updated information in our training, and during that training, we have enhanced we have encouraged our officers to make a relevant safety plan, and we have enhanced their ability to assess and understand the risks. And we have also enhanced a lot of our training programs in order to improve their understanding on latest strategies in handling public order events. And we also would use some actual scenarios in training. Scenarios include MTR stations, urban areas, and outdoor areas, so that our police officers could use the right strategy and right amount of force. And after the training, we have also trained them better to when in their note-taking, and they could better explain why they need to use such forces. And finally, we have also an actual training day to enhance the coordination of using forces across different teams. We have also adjusted our scenario simulation training. We have added new scenarios like MTR stations, urban and outdoor areas. And finally, in PTU and in the police academy, we have also increased amounts of enhanced our training so that our frontline members will have more better knowledge on using tear gas and other weaponry. So we have also arranged for board members, secretariat members to visit our high command center in the Hong Kong Island area, to visit our command center and to see how we have implemented the recommendations of the board members. And after such improvement measures are in place, I think that everybody who have attended understands that there's a significant increase in the traffic and the amount of requests that our system has to handle. And currently, after we have optimized those procedures, we are capable of handling these matters. So the relevant recommendation number 31, we would follow up on other IPCC recommendations and to report to the members in a timely manner. Here ends my report. Thank you. That's the number 4, criminal and disciplinary. So I'll be making the report. So regarding to criminal and disciplinary actions, in the past, we have already recorded the relevant data in the appendices, and we have also submitted it to the Secretariat. I have nothing to add for that. Thank you. Thank you for your report. Are there any colleagues who want to discuss that document? If not, once again, we thank members of the police. And once again, we thank you all for letting us visit your central command center in Central last week, but many of our members would like to visit that again because this is very important to our work. We understand the context. The atmosphere at that time is also known to us, but I often say that what happens on paper is very different to what happens in the front line. So the actual thing is much more shocking and much more impactful. So we would like to continue this arrangement for us to visit the front lines where the police work, wherever possible. So we have 52 recommendations here. If some of these recommendations, well, there are improvements on that or whatever, we also like to review the context of the recommendation as well. So there's a lot of smart what and smart what not. We hope that everybody will be just as smart as those things so that we could make progress together. Thank you very much. So now we are at AOB, any other business. Are there any other business from the board members? If not, so the next meeting will be happening on 28th of September. It will be a Tuesday. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, board members.
Friends of media, this is the first time I preside over this press conference in my capacity as chairman of the IPCC. We had the joint meeting just now, and we'd like to meet the media today. I'm really honored to be appointed as chairman of the IPCC. Between 2005 and 2010, I was chairman of the IPCC, and I'm really glad to be here again to work together with the Secretariat and to contribute my bit to this committee. The IPCC has been in existence for 12 years, and it is there to fulfill the statutory function and to scrutinize each and every complaint case in a fair and just manner. We will be operating independently. We are evidence-based, and through our observer scheme and also robust scrutiny system, we will be looking at all the evidence. It's only with sufficient evidence that if a police officer is found to be in breach, then the IPCC would deal with it. If there is any abuse of the system and not erroneous complaints, the IPCC would also be make sure that the police officers will not be unfairly treated. We will make sure that the complainant and also the complaint will be treated in a fair and just manner. In dealing with complaints, it is important to handle discontent, and we'll make sure that for each and every case we will take this as a lesson to see how we can do a better job and to draw a lesson from it, and to constantly ramp up the level of service. This is the whole purpose of the complaints. We need to consistently and constantly improve ourselves before we can buttress the public trust in the police. The IPCC over the past decade has made more than 180 recommendations to the police, ranging from different areas, and they have everything to do with the members of the public, like the traffic offence enforcement, the employment of technology, and so on. We will follow up on the progress of implementation on the part of the police. And I'm sure that with this kind of improvement work, we have seen a decline in the number of complaints. We have 52 recommendations in the Thematic report. During the joint meeting, you heard the police report. Last week, together with the members, we've been to the Central 999 Control Center and to see for ourselves how the upgrade has contributed to better work and to rise to the challenges and to prevent the complaints from happening again. Lastly, I am grateful to Mr. Anthony Nor for his contribution for the past 3 years, and also I'd like to register a vote of thanks to all the members who have already left us, and I'm also grateful to the Secretariat for the meticulous arrangement to re-familiarize me with all the different areas of work. Going forward, I will be working hand in glove with members to uphold the fair and just principle and values of the IPCC and to maintain the two-tier complaint system. This two-tier complaint system has been serving us well, and this rely on the tripartite communication between the police, the IPCC, and the members of the public. We need to have mutual trust, and we need to have full cooperation with joint and concerted efforts. I'm sure that we will be able to build trust in the days to come. Thank you very much. Myself and Mr. Mui will be presiding over the press conference. I'd like to say that in the joint meeting, we followed up on the 52 recommendations in the Thematic report. And as of now, 26 have been followed through, and there are others that are achieving pretty good results or progress. And at the joint meeting, we've also said that in various areas of work, the police have done a lot of improvement work, and members had the opportunity to conduct site visit to understand better all the improvement work. As Madam Chair said a moment ago, the event last time was a visit to the regional headquarters on Hong Kong Island to have a look for ourselves, the 999 Control Center and all the improvement work. If you cast your mind back, this is one of the 52 recommendations, and this is an important recommendation. The police will take advantage of the existing mechanism and also a site visit to enable the members to understand the situation better. And at the joint meeting today, we covered a number of initiatives, new initiatives on the part of the police, like the e-ticketing, the mobile video team, and so on. These two initiatives involve the employment of IT to help with their enforcement work. The e-ticketing system is a system whereby they are digitalizing the ticketing system, and along with the mobile video, they have the evidence to increase the accuracy and the efficiency.
And at the same time, they reduce the amount of disputes happening between frontline police and drivers. So the IPCC believes that all these measures could help reduce unnecessary complaints by significantly. Secondly, today the police have introduced to us the Beat app, which is also an IT app which facilitates law enforcement. This Beat app will be implemented in phases. According to our understanding, the latest is that this app could effectively help frontline police officers to reduce the amount of time spent during stop and searches and to increase the accuracy of verifying data. So in these arrangements, the police feels that this could reduce the demands on labor, on manpower in the police command center, because the system is automatic. It bypasses the manual participation of actual police officers in the command center, so the efficiency would increase. And finally, the IPCC, when it comes to using different platforms, we have communicated with different stakeholders, interacted with them, and we put a lot of emphasis on our collaboration work. So in the most recent communique, we have talked about this. We recently have produced a TV drama called IPCC Frontlines, and we have also mentioned the progress and whatnot on that front in our communique. So right now we're in the stage where we are looking into when will we roll out this TV drama with the production company. We hope that this could be shown across different platforms. People could look forward to our production and support us, we hope, because this is a very good way of introducing our two-tiered management system, and we hope that through this TV drama we could help members of the public form a better understanding on IPCC's work. So now I will hand the floor over to Mr. Daniel Mui, our acting Chief General Secretariat, to talk about the latest complaint figures and our vetting process. Thank you, Daniel. So thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Hello, everyone. So let me offer some statistics, a brief overview of statistics to everyone. So in year 2019, with regards to the complaints pertaining to the anti-extradition law movement, there are a total of 1,948 complaints involving 9,139 people who filed the complaints. And amongst these complaints, what people care most about is there are a total of 671 complaints which requires reporting, which involves 617 different individuals, involving 1,099 different accusations. So in other words, if we deduct the difference, there are 1,331 complaints which requires a notification. So as I've said, 1,099 accusations, amongst which 70% are minor accusations, including inappropriate behavior, which accounts for 27%. There are 292 different inappropriate behavior. As for negligence of duty, there are 294 accusations, is 24%. As for impoliteness, foul language, and inappropriate behavior, all these combined together, there are 19% of complaints in that front, so a total of 207 cases. So for the serious accusations, there are 30% of those are serious accusations. 15% of those involves abuse of power. There are 136 accusations involving assault, which is 12%. As for threats, there are 25 accusations, accounting for 2%. As for fabrication of evidence, there are 5 accusations, which accounts for less than 1% of the total accusations. So amongst which we have 120 observers at the IPCC with regards to all of these complaints. Up to date, we have made 1,220 observations, and the attendance rate is 100%. So that's the brief overview with regards to what CAPO has has submitted to us. CAPO has submitted 484 reports to IPCC. So in other words, is 48% of the 617 incidents that I've just mentioned. And of course, 73 incidents are still under investigation by the CAPO, and 60 of those incidents because that complaint may be relevant to a criminal proceeding. So those those procedures are suspended. We have to deal with it later. So amongst these 484 reports, let me offer a subcategory for everyone. 154 incidents, the CAPO has held a full investigation, which accounts for 32% of the total reports. So even though the figure is 154, but actually only 94 incidents, in only 94 incidents did the person who filed the complaint ask for a full-scale investigation. So why is there such a discrepancy? Because in certain cases, even though the individual did not opt for a complaint and did not file a report, we have the evidence to handle this, so we did handle them. So there are 131 cases where the individual did not respond to our queries, and there are cases where I've mentioned that there are 141 incidents where we did a full investigation, and amongst the 484 incidents, there are 26% of the individuals expresses that they would revoke the complaint, and there are 196 incidents which is designated as cannot be handled, so that's 40% of the cases, and there are 2% of the cases, few of the cases, which is handled which is designated cannot be resolved. So after we have reviewed the 480 odd cases, so when the IPCC, what is our progress on these 400 odd cases? So we at the IPCC, we have already passed 369 cases, and 90 of those we will have a full-scale investigation. So what is happening in those 90 cases? 6 of these accusations were substantiated, were proven, and 3 of those were involved foul language. 1 incident involved inappropriate behavior, 1 involved negligence, and 1 involved abuse of power. There's a total of 6 accusations which were proven and substantiated. And there was 1 case where what the accusations could not be fully substantiated. This is a negligent accusation. And furthermore, in 3 cases, there was no complaint, but they were proven to be true, and all 3 of those incidents involved negligence in carrying out their duties. So there's a total of 10 accusations which was proven or could not be fully substantiated, or they were not subjected to complaint but were substantiated. So there are a total of 10 cases there. As for the other conclusions, there are 33 accusations which cannot be proven, and there are 72 incidents where police were not at fault. So 29% in other words cannot be substantiated, and 63% police were not at fault. So there is a total of 115 incidents in those 3 categories. So that I've mentioned, so amongst the 484 incidents, 369 were passed through. What else cases were there? There are 120 cases where the individual had revoked the complaint, so that's 33%. 149 cases, we cannot follow up on that. That accounts for 40% of the cases. So most of these cases is because we cannot obtain the collaboration of the individual who filed the complaint, and a very small amount of which is where we cannot find the person who made the complaint, but most of them is when the individual did not cooperate with us. And there are 10 cases where we have solved in an express manner. So amongst these several hundred incidents, we have once issued 339 questions to the CAPO,
involving 814 incidents. I'd like to give you some summary here. 70% of the cases, 269, are withdrawn cases are not pursuable. 120 are withdrawn cases not pursuable. 149. For these cases, they involve journalists as well as other complainants. In the complaint system, I must say that we do need to have information furnished by the complainants so that the CAPO will be able to follow up, and so that the IPCC will be able to scrutinize the information in a fair and just manner. Without the cooperation of the complainant, it would be very difficult for the complaints to be scrutinized in a fair and just manner. Any questions? And now TV. Mr. Chen, the chairman assumes duty today and she doesn't bother to answer reporters' question. How much do you think that this will contribute to rebuilding trust? Did you remind her that she should address reporters' questions? I didn't raise this question with her, but my understanding is that the chairman has prior engagement, so time-wise she is not able to attend long enough to address questions, but she would attach importance to interaction with the media. So that's why she came here and said what she said. I'm sure that in future press briefings, time permitting, I'm sure that the chair would be only too delighted to interact with the reporters. Mingpao Daily. Also, a question about Chairman Wong's performance during the press conference. She spoke for about 3 to 4 minutes and she left the press conference. How would you comment on her performance? You said you tried to build up communication. How soon are we going to be able to put questions to her? The IPCC is not about one single person or one single chairman. As I said, the chair is really committed to interacting with the journalists about the role of the IPCC going forward, and she is very committed. Today, I think there is a bit of a time clash, and she cannot vary the engagement. And we did have discussions as to how we can sort this out. And the chair came out and spent a bit of time to say what she wanted to say. I'm sure that going forward there would be plenty of opportunity for interactions. Please do not come away with misunderstanding that the chairman doesn't really want to communicate with the press. Nothing can be further from the truth.
Thank you. Several English questions kind of follow up on the previous questions asked by other reporters. What message do you think kind of sent to the public and to the media sector when the new chairperson kind of just left without answering people's questions? Does this fulfill kind of IPCC usual practice of being transparent, open, and accountable to the public in a way in all its works? Does this send a very good first impression to the public?
I don't think there is a connection between our sort of a stance in terms of public communication, in terms of communicating with press. As I said that already, this is the third time I said it, that the chair lady actually had prior engagement and arrangement, and therefore she couldn't spend more time than she would like today in taking up the questions. So if I were you, I wouldn't sort of take the implication that she is doing it deliberately, and that is her statement or message to the press. I don't think so.
或者我呢度補充少少啦。
Let me supplement a little bit here. I think in the days to come there will be plenty of time and opportunity for the chair to meet the press. And there will be plenty of opportunity for you to put questions to the chair about the actual work of the IPCC. And you're going to be having contacts with her in the days to come. The tenure is not a short time. The tenure is for 2 years. And I think at least for 2 years, in the coming 2 years, that there will be a lot of opportunity for you to get in touch with the chair and put questions to her. And you will be able to put questions about the actual work of the IPCC. In terms of transparency, the accountability of the IPCC would not be affected by whether the chairman is here at this point in time. I think in the days to come, you will see that the chairman, how the chairman performs in the days to come is far more important than whether she's here to address the question.
So,
I wouldn't take it as I wouldn't form any impression based on the first press conference, and she actually, sort of spent effort in talking to you for the opening statement, and I think she was struggling with time today, and she really, sort of take a way out, to try her best to communicate with you.
Hi, I would like to ask about Cai Jinpang. Will there be any way to follow up or active investigations on that front? Cable TV, we from Cable TV. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. On the head of the National Security Department for Mr. Cai Jinpang, will there be an active investigation into him or any follow-up on that incident? So our function, I think I have to explain this here and now. Our function is to handle complaints. When there are complaints, we will handle it. If there are no complaints, that would be beyond our scope. So I think if the police and within the police for internal matters of the police department, that's also beyond our scope. We just handle complaints. But currently, has the IPCC received any complaints regarding the National Security Department head, Cai Jinpang? For now, we have received no complaints regarding that issue. Hi, I'm from HK01. I'd like to ask, because in the past 5 months, there's a year-on-year increase of 48 incidents of complaints. So in the next step, looking ahead, what would IPCC do to inspire confidence in our public, and how do you look, what would you looking ahead? I'm from HK01. Thank you for your questions. I think members of the media know me already. I have been here for 10 years. I'm responsible for reviewing complaints. I think the most important thing in a complaint is that we work in an evidence-based manner, impartially. No matter who that individual is, we would review this complaint in an impartial manner. So when we review the complaints, we will look into the relevant laws and to look into the relevant internal guidances in police department. In order to see whether the conclusion that CAPO has arrived at is a reasonable conclusion, that's the most important thing. That's how we handle complaints. As for handling the dissatisfaction of the individual who filed the complaints, we are, as the chairlady has said, we are not just fair to the individual, we are fair also to the person being the police officer in question. That's the most important feature and the most important part of our system. But another thing is that in each complaint, it actually offers a chance for us to see for the police, for frontline staff, or the guidelines and procedures of the police. Each incident offers us a chance to see if there's room for improvement, to improve the service, or to reduce the amount of complaints in order to continue to improve the service police office. That's the most important thing. Through the impartial handling of each incident, we would use we would sincerely look into how to reduce these complaints and how to improve the level of service the police offers. I think all of these things combined could offer members of the public, it offers the society a reason to be confident in our police, because precisely we have such a system, we have such a complaint system, we could make sure that the police offer quality service. That's what we are going to do looking ahead. In the days ahead, we would redouble our efforts to look into where the police could improve their quality of service, and we could make relevant observations through these complaints. Just like what Clement Chan, one of our board members, had mentioned, today the police in our joint meeting has mentioned the 52 recommendations we have mentioned in our fourth report. We hope that if the police can make improvements, they have made improvements, we could actually go to the front lines, to the actual real scenario, to observe what specifically have they improved upon and whether that could prevent future complaints. So in the past, we have went to the Kowloon City police station, and we also went to the Central Command Center of the 999 hotline. We see that the police have used a lot of effort to improve and to fix what's wrong. So we hope that in the future they could improve upon all the 52 recommendations we have made, and we hope that they could improve upon what we hope they can improve on through their complaints. We not just offer recommendations on paper, we hope that we could actually visit the front line where the police work by virtue of the police arranging for such visits. That's the general direction of travel in the future for us.